What's the story, everyone? My name is Aaron and welcome back to GAA Fan TV. I hope you're all keeping very well and had a very lovely weekend indeed. Back again, of course, with all the latest club action from the weekend in both Gaelic football and hurling. There were certainly a lot of results to go through this weekend, and of course there was a lot of action across the country in both hurling and Gaelic football, so we're here to recap it, look at some of your social media reactions on both Twitter and Instagram as well, and discuss all the big talking points from this weekend. Of course, first of all, if you are new around here, if you could hit the like button and subscribe button, I would appreciate it. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Alright, so we will start with hurling, and we will start with the Limerick Hurling Championship. And obviously there was a lot of games on during the weekend. Of course, we've seen the Patrickswell in action against Kilmallock. We also seen Patrickswell in action as well, of course, the current Limerick hurling champions. But we will start with that win by Kilmallock. It was their first ever win over an Patrickswell since 2014, and I have to say I was very impressed with Kilmallock in that game, especially in the second half, because I actually thought in the first half that the Patrickswell actually started a little bit better. I thought Peter Casey's influence on the left hand side was very difficult for Kilmallock to deal with. I thought they were struggling to get hold of him, and he was peeling away from his man on far too many occasions. He probably did hit a few wides, Peter Casey, and maybe he wasn't up to full match sharpness that you would expect from a player of his caliber. But I do think one of the big turning points in the game was actually not long after Patrickswell got their first goal of the first and only goal of the game, as a matter of fact. Of course, Adrian Breen with a really tidy finish from the right hand side, hitting it in the top left hand corner. Very tidy finish from Adrian Breen. And of course, literally straight after, Kilmallock got a goal of their own. Of course, a long ball into Oisin O'Reilly, great catch of the ball, great turn away from his man, and a very good finish from him as well. And you know, the Patrickswell were actually leading at half time by a point, but I just felt like that goal for Kilmallock gave them a lot of hope going into the half time break. It cut the lead down to a point, and from there in the second half they were really able to dominate. And I think one common theme we've seen from a lot of these hurling matches is in the later stages of matches we are seeing some teams fade quite a bit, and I do think that has obviously because of match fitness and whatnot, I think that has a huge impact. So great turnaround in the end, of course, for Kilmallock. I mean, Graham Mulcahy, I mean, you cannot dismiss him. What a performance he had for this team. And if we have a look at some of the stats here, of course we were looking at some stats last week and some of the club action from GAA Statsman's Instagram page, and we'll have a look again here. So as you can see here for Kilmallock, 66% conversion rate from 27 shots, very impressive indeed. You know, of their 18 shots from play, they scored 12, so very impressive there. And maybe for Kilmallock you would feel that they could actually create more opportunities in the next coming games, and you know, they are certainly serious contenders for the Limerick Hurling Championship, especially after getting that win over the Patrickswell. You know, that's a team that has consistently beat Kilmallock, and consistently Kilmallock on the big occasion haven't been able to get over the line in the past few years. But of course this year they were able to get that significant victory. As we said before, Graham Mulcahy, a goal and 4 points. Oisin O'Reilly's goal in the first half was critical as well. Special mention obviously Michael Houlihan with 6 points, of course, 5 of them from place balls. Kevin O'Donnell scoring 3 points, of course, as well. Very impressive from him. But for the Patrickswell, I mean, they certainly will come back stronger next weekend, of course. And we said before, Adrian Breen and Peter Casey in particular, the top players on the pitch for the Patrickswell, but nonetheless a very good win for Kilmallock in this one. Okay, so some other results in the Limerick Hurling Championship. So Patrickswell got a victory over it there, a 6-point victory, 323 to 26 points. And as we'll see on screen here, obviously there was that win for Kilmallock over Patrickswell, a 2-point victory. Monaghan, of course, got themselves a win as well over South Liberties. That was a 7-point victory. And Ballybrown comfortably seen off Blackrock 418 to 214. So there were the results, of course, from the Limerick Hurling Championship. If we switch it up now and we look at the Galway Hurling Championship, obviously there was a significant game between Sarsfields and Portachuma, and it was a 16-point victory for Sarsfields in that game. And I mean, this was obviously a very interesting game as well. Of course, it was spoiled by the controversial red card for Joe Canning. And I mean, you have to feel sorry for Joe Canning because, you know, he had that long injury layoff last year with Galway when, of course, he was injured, and he was regaining his fitness, of course, for the league. And then obviously we had the lockdown. He's come back, and now he's been sent off and will most likely be suspended for the next game. Jack Canning was also sent off as well. I believe Jack Canning is actually his nephew. So he was sent off as well. Now, in terms of Joe Canning's red card, I mean, it's an interesting one because clearly the referee has said to him, you know, the reason why I've sent you off is because you've dragged the helmet off the other player. Obviously, Joe Canning's response, you know, pretty much vindicates that. Now, he did drag him to the ground, and you would have to say that probably is a yellow card offence. I mean, it's debatable, but I think to send him off was a little bit harsh in my opinion, considering he didn't take the helmet off the other player. It did essentially just fall off while he was on the ground. So, a little bit harsh for Joe Canning there, and, you know, he's just not getting a look at the green at the moment. And I think, you know, Galway need him ready for the, you know, the Inter-County Championship when it does come around. Obviously, given the fact that it is a knockout tournament, you know, and there's no round robin system. But in the end, of course, it was a win for Sarsfield's 3 late goals in the final 10 minutes. I mean, certainly those red cards made a significant difference, and kind of similar in many ways to what I was saying with Kilmallock and the Piercing. A lot of teams fading a lot in the final 10 minutes, and when you're down to 13 men, it's always going to be very difficult. And in the end, Joseph Cooney, Jeffrey Lawless with 2 goals in the closing stages, making the difference, of course, for Sarsfields, getting that comfortable victory over Portachuma, a 16-point win. Some other results in the Galway Hurling Championship. There was a victory for St. Thomas over Castlegar, a 2-point win. In fact, they actually came from 10 points down. Aina Burke and Conor Cooney were the standout players in that victory for St. Thomas, so fair play to them for getting that victory. And there was also wins as well for Turlamore over Limerick, so congratulations to them getting their campaign off to a winning start. Now in Tipperary, there were some results in here as well. Of course, Borrisley were the beaten All-Ireland finalists, of course, in the All-Ireland club final last year, of course, when they lost to Ballyhale Shamrocks, and they started their campaign off with a draw against Tumavara. There was also a win as well for Turles Sarsfields, so Lark Corba inspiring Turles Sarsfields to a comeback, as a matter of fact, over Kilruane, so a huge victory for them. Of course, for Borrisley, I mean, you would expect them to bounce back, of course, next weekend and still potentially go far in the Tipperary Hurling Championship, but certainly an opening draw against Tumavara, not the worst result, not the best, but certainly they will be looking to improve in the next coming weeks. In Clare, the reigning champions, 6 Mile Bridge defeated Airog 17 points to 12. If we actually have a look at some of the stats again here, so as we can see here, Alex Morey with 13 points in that game, 11 of them from place balls. Really just carrying 6 Mile Bridge there on his shoulders, as a matter of fact. What a performance in the end, of course, for 6 Mile Bridge. For Airog, I mean, there certainly were some standout players as well. Of course, Danny Russell hitting 8 points, Darren O'Brien with 2 points as well. But certainly for 6 Mile Bridge, I mean, you can't look past Alex Murray there with 13 points with the victory. A very impressive performance there for 6 Mile Bridge. Of course, the reigning champions as well, and they will be looking to defend their crown going into this year's Clare Hurling Championship. There were also wins as well for Ballyea, Cratloe, Wolftones, and Callahan's Mills also got a victory as well, so fair play to them. If we have a look at the Wexford Hurling Championship, so St. Martin's made it 2 from 2. Of course, they got that great victory over Ularth the Balag last weekend, and of course now they beat Clochbawn by 8 points, so significant victory for St. Martin's. In Waterford, Ballygunner were the standout team of the weekend. Of course, they are the current Waterford Hurling champions, and they have been the standout side in Waterford for quite some time, and they beat Tallow by 20 points, so a very significant victory for Ballygunner. Okay, and then we'll move on to Gaelic football, and I mean, obviously there's a lot of results to get through, of course, this weekend, and we won't go through every single result, but of course we will have a look first of all at the Cork Football Championship. Castlehaven, they got a big win over Carbery Rangers in a West Cork derby. Both Brian and Michael Hurley, both the significant players in that game, both contributing 10 points in that victory, so that was significant for Castlehaven getting that win and getting off to a start. Now obviously the favourites Nemo Rangers, They are, of course, the best team in Cork by some distance, you know, judging off the past couple of years. As we said before, they're looking to win their first back-to-back county title since 2008. And Luke Connolly was again the man to watch. He got on the score sheet in this one as they got off to a winning start in their victory over Valley Rovers. There was also wins as well for Clonakilty and St Finbarrs. There was also a victory for Douglas over Bishopstown, 5-point victory. Conor Russell, Dara Kelly and Niall Harna, all the significant players in that game, getting Douglas off to a winning start. Alright, so then we'll move on to the Dublin County Championship, and there were certainly a lot of games that took place in Dublin over the weekend. Thomas Davis got a comfortable win over Round Towers of Lusk. Great start for them, of course. They were the beaten finalists in last year's county championship, so a good win for them. Ballymun-Kickham's, of course, I was speaking about them in a video a couple of days ago, and they got off to a winning start over Skerries Harps, a 12-point victory in that game. So significant, of course, for them. Actually, it wasn't a 12-point, it was actually 15 points, a 15-point victory for Ballymun-Kickham's. There was also wins for St Enda's over Clontarf. Clontarf actually started pretty well in that game with the likes of Jack McCaffrey, and then, of course, the likes of Chris Barrett, of course, who travelled over from Mayo. But St Enda's, in the end, very comfortable in getting that win. Whitehall, Comkills and St Vincent's, probably a lot closer than people thought in many ways, but in the end, St Vincent's getting the victory. St Jude's got a win over Nafina. There was also wins for Luke and Sarsfields, Kilmallock Crokes and Castleknock as well. Kieran Kilkenny, of course, the influence for Castleknock as always. Okay, and then we move on to the Kerry County Championship, and of course Gaelic football getting well underway in Kerry this weekend. And of course there were some significant games that took place. Kenmare Shamrocks got a significant win over Kerins O'Rahilly's. The likes of Sean O'Shea and Stephen O'Brien, the influence as they seen off Kerins O'Rahilly's, a team that included the likes of David Moran in their midfield. David Moran did play quite well in this game, but of course in the end Kenmare Shamrocks getting over the line with Stephen O'Brien getting a goal in the game as well. Kieran Donaghy was on the goal trail for Austin Stacks as they drew with Dingle. Paul Gainey actually scored a late point in that game as well to secure a draw, and there were also wins for Killarney and Dr. Crokes in Kerry as well. Some other results around the country: Clontarbrett drew with Ballybay. Clontarbrett, of course, of Conor McManus. Ballybay of Drew Wiley. In Monaghan, of course, the Monaghan County Championship. Scottstown also started with a win as well, so fair play to them. And there was also an interesting game between Padraig Pearses and Boyle. Padraig Pearses, of course, the current Roscommon champions, and they actually came from 12 points down against Boyle to get a draw. So fair play to Padraig Pearses there. A wonderful turnaround. I believe they scored a couple of late goals as well, so fair play to Padraig Pearses in that game. Unlucky for Boyle, I mean that would have been a huge victory for them, and they were certainly very close to getting over the line, but in the end Padraig Pearses getting the draw. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll have a look at some of your lads' tweets, and of course I put out a poll on Instagram as well, looking for some of your guys' reaction to some of the club games that took place this weekend. So Paddy Rax here says, I've watched 2 club games in the last week and have to say I hate the forward mark rule. Completely hangs cornerbacks and totally kills momentum. It's just not Gaelic football. Yeah, I mean, they seem to always be changing the rules for some reason in Gaelic football and in hurling as well, and to be honest I don't know why they always seem to consistently change the rules. I mean, I feel like you should just let it be, let the game be played the way it is. Don't consistently make changes, because if you keep making too many changes, it's going to be very hard for club managers and players to continuously adapt to these changes. I feel like, you know, you could be doing the game worse than better with some of these changes. Another tweet came in here from David Connors. He says, not to rub it in, but it was great to be back at live matches. To see the huge space available at each and every ground would have you scratching your head at the overzealous spectator restrictions, though. Surely this can be reviewed before August 10th. Yeah, fair point there from David Connors. I mean, look, listen, I do feel like with some of these stadiums that hold 2,000-3,000 people, I mean, you can easily fit 200-300, if not even more in there. And certainly, you know, if we do come out of this current phase of the lockdown in August 10th, hopefully we do, then I think, you know, that's something the GAA should hopefully look at, is trying to get more fans into a lot of these club games. Tweet here from Ciara O'Riordan, have you a ticket? Things that were said too much for no reason this weekend. One of the lads has my ticket. things that lads think we believed. And look, listen, Kira maybe has a fair point there, and you do miss that camaraderie that normally takes place around club games and inter-county matches and whatnot in regards to tickets. Michael Dempsey says, great to have the ball game back after a long time out. Another tweet came in here from Andrew. I'm not even going to say his name, I really do apologise there, but he says, great weekend of GEA action with the club centre stage, surely the way forward, and there should be a dedicated window for them each year. Absolutely. I think this year the club action's getting a lot more attention than previous years. I think maybe because we had that long layoff in the lockdown, and even casual fans who don't normally watch club football and hurling are getting more and more interested. And I think this is probably what club football and club hurling needs. And hopefully now maybe we could actually see a significant window for both club football and hurling. I do feel like there needs to be more communication between inter-county and clubs in terms of the structure of how it's going to work. I mean, if we have the inter-county championship during summer like we normally do, there needs to be at least a month or 2 months before the club championship starts, and maybe you need to push the games a little bit closer together and normally to do that, instead of always having them so spaced out. I mean, a number of players and managers have come out and actually said that they would prefer if games were almost every weekend, because at least that way they can continuously be training and working towards something and not have significant breaks, for example. This was also a tweet that came in here from Shane Coughlin. He says, 74 years, young as my father, doesn't miss a match in his local Capo Quinafane. Hopefully I said that right. He says, hard-working volunteer who spent countless hours putting up new railings and walkways in the field, and this is what he now has to do to see the game he loves. If we have a look at that photo there, as you can see on screen, and I mean, look, listen, we've seen a lot of photos, of course, that have come out. We've seen a fella on a crane last weekend watching a game. There were a couple of fans in Leitrim this weekend as well that were actually watching a game kind of on a tractor. So that's kind of one way of going about it. And look, listen, fair play to these fans. You're not going to stop these fans from watching these games. This is for a lot of fans that support clubs, especially all over Ireland, and especially maybe the older generation that have been part of these clubs for 40 to 50 years. You're not going to take that away from them. And I think fair play to them for doing absolutely everything they can to support their club. They're the real true heroes in the GAA, in my opinion, as those very loyal fans, and obviously that was great to see. Okay, some Instagram comments that came in here. So Lawn Rangers had a great comeback, was one. Aaron Shanager of Wolf Tones scored 2 goals and a good lot of points. Of course, Wolf Tones getting that win in the Clare County Championship, so a significant victory for them. This was another comment that came in here. So Buncrana in the Donegal Senior Hurling Championship, who beat St. Eunan's senior hurlers easily, so a great win for Buncrana. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be an expert when it comes to Donegal hurling, but fair play to Buncrana for getting that victory. So another comment, of course, came in here, just a mention of a couple of the Clare hurlers who had a great weekend, the likes of Aidan McCarthy, Ryan Taylor, Tony Kelly, for example. Fair play to them. Of course, Ballier getting a victory as well. Willie Griffin was unreal for it there. Played a great game, of course, in that loss to Patrickswell. Another comment came in here. James P. Sullivan of Dr. Croaks had a very significant game. So some interesting matches nonetheless. I'll certainly try my best to keep up to date with some of the games even I missed over the weekend. It's difficult, there's a lot of matches going on and it's hard to keep up with everything, but certainly I will try my absolute best. Anyway, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Do let me know down below what matches you watched this weekend, what matches you will be watching next weekend, of course. Stay safe during this lockdown. We're still kind of in the lockdown or slowly coming out of it, of course, but hopefully we can see fans coming back to stadiums soon, and we can really see the GAA get back to full swing, of course. But of course we will have to live in hope and see what happens, of course. Anyway, guys, my name is Aaron. I will catch you all soon. Have a lovely week, and I'll see you later.